Oh man. So what has my coach Tim, what has my coach Tim been up to? Oh yeah? He said that the boys are one step closer to becoming men. Is that right? Okay. Okay, so I can assume that they're earning their box blades. Is that right? All right, and so somehow getting the box blades, somehow that gets them closer to being a man. Did anybody tell my coach that real men do not carry box blades? Did anybody tell him? Nobody told him? Okay. Did anybody tell him that there are plenty of kids that carry pocket knives? And certainly there are men that carry pocket knives, okay? But there are no real men that carry box blades, okay? All right, and you ready, Tim Writers? If you guys believe otherwise, let me know in the comments. Put it in the comments. If you guys believe that real men carry box blades, put it in the comments. I can't wait. But he claims that they are one step closer to being men. Okay, and so he's still insistent upon rushing these boys through their childhood. Is that right? Just because he squandered his own childhood while he was out there skipping school and running in the streets and experimenting with drugs and sticking up folks and robbing. Okay, just because he wasted his own childhood. Okay, just because he was taught to be a man, supposedly taught to be a man, by one of his prison mates / cellmates / prison boos, just because his childhood was ruined. Okay, some of it of his own doing, and the rest of it based upon his interactions with his prison mates. Just because his own childhood was ruined, he's trying to ruin those boys' childhood. Is that right? He's trying to rush them into being men. And I guess he's saying that they're one step closer to becoming men. Now, does that include little Noah? Little 5-year-old Noah, who's barely out of the toddler stage. Okay? Little Noah is one step closer to becoming a man. Okay, so like a 6-year-old man, a 7-year-old man, how close is he to becoming a man? Okay? And I'm like, when does having a box blade or a weapon make a person a man? Okay, coach? Coach, isn't that what got you into trouble in the first place? Somehow feeling that, okay, if you carried a weapon, if you carried a firearm, somehow that made you more of a man. Isn't that what got you into trouble, coach? And so you're trying to convince these boys, you're trying to teach them at such an early age, such a tender age of development. You're trying to teach them that carrying a weapon is what makes you a man. I'm like, okay, coach. Okay, coach. Now, we do understand that when you were in prison, you had to carry some type of weapon. Okay, in order to defend yourself. We know that you had to do that, coach. We know that from time to time you had to exhibit violence when you were behind the bars. We already know that, coach. It's a matter of survival when you're in there. We understand that, coach. But these boys are not in prison. Well, not if you don't include being locked behind the farm gates. Okay, they're not truly in prison. Okay, although they might be in prison, they are not in prison. They're not in prison as far as the traditional meaning of the term. And so I'm like, okay, coach, so you're telling us that if they get these box blades, they're closer to being men. And I'm like, okay, coach, what happened? Were they sold out on shanks? Okay, when you went to the Home Depot to pick up these box blade holders, were the shanks sold out, coach? Okay, because I'm sure you prefer for them to have shanks. Okay, just like you did when you were behind bars, coach. And I'm like, okay, when you had that shank or had those shanks behind bars, coach, you were trying to defend yourself for the most part. These boys don't have to defend themselves against anything, coach. Okay, so why in the world would they need a weapon? Okay, why in the world would these boys be indoctrinated to violence at such an early age, coach? All right, we did notice how even Timothy Jr. struggled with his box blade after he supposedly earned the blade. The blade, which you had to be careful when you offered it to him, you had to be careful in your handling of that blade because you as an adult, you know how dangerous those blades are. You had to be so careful when you were handing it over to him. And then so when Junior exhibited it or used it for the first time that we saw, he struggled with it. Okay, he struggled to open up the holder. He struggled to apply the blade. You had to kind of coach him. And I'm like, if you have to coach somebody through using a weapon, if you have to coach somebody through using a sharp implement, a dangerous, a destructive, a highly destructive instrument, highly destructive blade, highly destructive weapon, if you have to coach them that much, coach, then they're not ready for it. Okay? All right. And newsflash, coach, if you were even trying to instruct an adult in trying to use that box blade, coach, they would have to show the same amount of care that you're trying to teach even junior to use. Okay, coach? They're not safe. Okay? They're dangerous, highly dangerous, coach. But I guess you'll have to learn that lesson the hard way. Or rather, the boys will have to learn the lesson the hard way. I guess that Megan kind of displayed a little bit of her disapproval as much as she could. And you're talking about, well, you know, she's just being resistant to the boys growing up. And that's not what she was resistant to. All right. Megan understands the destruction and the danger that will come with those box blades. Okay. Danger and destruction to themselves. They can cut themselves. They can maim themselves. Okay. Let alone each other. All right. So get the Band-Aids ready. Okay. Get the bandages ready. All right. Keep the 911 on speed dial, coach. Megan. Okay. We know you're the voice of reason, Megan. You better keep that 911 on speed dial, Megan. All right. All right. Okay. You guys don't seek outside medical attention. Okay. So when the boys start cutting up themselves, start lacerating themselves with those first, second, or third degree cuts, when they start lacerating themselves down to the white meat, okay, do they know that box blades, they don't do surface level damage? Do they understand that box blades cut down to the white meat? Do they understand that? Not yet. They're not ready to understand that. Okay, but they're ready to handle those weapons for no reason whatsoever on a defunct farm, non-existent farm. Okay. Okay, coach. But Megan, she displayed some of her displeasure because she already knows what's going to come with those box blades that you're so insistent upon, coach. You're insistent upon forcing them into adulthood, and you're forcing them toward an adulthood that's reflective of your early adulthood. And I'm like, okay, coach, we'll have to see how this works out, coach. We'll have to see how it works out. So what else? What else has my coach been up to? Oh, yeah. Okay, so we know he's going full blast with these trailers. He's going full steam ahead with this trailer trash. With these trailers. He's going full steam ahead. Is that right? And so now he's doing promos. He's doing promos for the trailers. Okay, and I'm like, okay, coach, do you even come close to a dictionary? Do you even pass by a dictionary in your travels within that single wide, that sardine can of a single wide? Do you ever even pass by a dictionary, coach? Okay. Do you ever even wander? Okay. Do you ever even search Google for the definitions of some of these terms that you're using, coach? Okay. You talk about having a travesty, coach. Of course, you don't realize a travesty refers to some type of imitation. Okay, coach? And you're talking about it was a travesty out there because some of the chickens got loose. I'm sure that you really wanted to say that it was a tragedy. You averted a tragedy. Okay? Not a travesty. Okay, coach? Google it. Ask Megan to order you a dictionary. Call up your mama Lily. I'm sure your mama Lily could tell you otherwise. Okay? By all accounts, she's been educated to some extent. She could share with you the difference between a tragedy and a travesty. Okay, coach? We do know that you like to make up your own words. Okay? We do know that you struggle with the grammar, coach. All right? But now when words have definitions that are understood and accepted by the rest of society, coach, all right? You can't just toss them in anywhere you want to. All right. We know that you made up that goofiness about the recidivizing. We already know about that goofiness, that you made up a word just because it rhymed with another word. And I'm like, if that is not juvenile type of thinking, if that's not elementary type of thinking, okay, you're going to make up a word just because it rhymes with another word. And you're going to try to portray yourself as being an intelligent young man, okay, a person of wisdom, a person qualified to coach others, and you're making up words. Your grammar is broken. Okay, your diction is shattered. Your articulation is shaky at best. Or your articulation, for the most part, it's non-existent. Okay, but you're making up words. All right. What else? What else has he been up to? Oh yeah. Okay, so now you're telling me that with the promotions, the promos, he's doing promos for trailers. Does he understand that a trailer is a promo? Does he understand that a trailer, a proper trailer, is a promotion for the actual film or the actual video in your case? Does he understand that? Okay. How many days when he was studying for his GED, how many days did he miss? How many days did he miss? Okay. Did they just push him on through? Did he take up with the right people when he was behind bars? Okay. When he selected his prison boo or his prison boo selected him? Did he take up with the right person? The person said, well, okay, just pretend like you're going to work on your GED. Just pretend like you're studying for your GED and I'll get you through it. Okay. Because we're seeing so many kinks, so many cracks. Okay. In your knowledge level, in your apparent education level, coach. We're seeing so much with regard to this, coach. But you talk about during these promos, you're talking about, for one thing, you're talking about the fact that, okay, well now, some of the reaction channels are, they're starting to funnel viewers to your channel. Okay. And I'm like, okay, coach, at least with the reaction channels that I watch, I don't see them trying to discourage your viewers to watch you. Okay, I haven't heard any of the reaction channels talk about, okay, you guys need to stop watching IAG. Okay, you need to stop watching the foolishness that is my coach and y'all's pastor. Okay, I haven't heard any of the reaction channels say that. Okay, of course, I've heard reaction channels try to give viewers a dose of reality, try to instill upon the viewers the fact that it's just a show. Okay, it's fiction on a grand scale. It's manipulation. And if anything, they try to discourage some of your viewers, some of your ready-to writers to cut back on their donations. Okay, cut back on their tips that they're sending to you. Keep some of their hard-earned money to themselves. Okay, considering the fact that my coach, okay, you don't earn much of anything. Okay. And so your viewers who are out there working and earning their money, they should keep some of that to themselves. Okay, maybe keep all of it to themselves with regard to actually sending it out to you. And so I do understand that there are reaction channels that say, okay, stop sending him shipments, stop sending him cash apps and Venmo. Okay, they're talking about stop. Okay, please cease and desist with sending y'all's Pastor Tim donations, gifts, offerings, tithes. Okay. They want the folks that are watching to stop sending you extra money because you've already claimed that you have a 6-figure internet business, a 6-figure YouTube business. You've claimed many times that you're well off, which implies that you're wealthy. Okay, coach? All right. And so generally speaking, wealthy folks do not take donations. Okay. They do not solicit tips. They do not solicit offerings. Okay. They do. And they certainly do not beg. They don't have their hand out begging. Okay, whether it be wet begging or dry begging. Okay, they do not beg, not wealthy folk. Okay, coach. But you talk about how some of the reaction channels have funneled viewers over to your channel, and supposedly some of the viewers have stopped watching the reaction channels. I'm like, okay, coach. And okay, it's a select crowd. It's a niche. Okay, I know you're not familiar with a niche, but reaction channels is a niche. Okay, and they're reacting to a particular platform is a niche. Okay, coach? So the fact that some of your viewers would turn off some of the reaction channels, that's not a shock. That's not a surprise for us, coach. All right? All right, but good luck with that, coach. Hopefully that would cheer you up in some fashion, coach. But all right, has he been up to anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Nothing really. Okay. Well, before I give my reaction to the recent P2P, P2P Nodcast, first of all, I want to recognize you guys that have been active. I want to recognize you guys that have been active in the comments. Keep that dialogue flowing. Keep that commentary going both ways. Of course, I'd like to recognize you heavy, you heavy Tim followers. But you guys, for one reason or another, you guys haven't been so heavy lately. A little bit light. You guys have been a little bit light in the comments lately. You woeful Tim worshipers. Yes. You ready Tim writers. You goofy Tim goonies. The whole lot of you guys. You guys have been kind of quiet. All right. And so I guess you guys are just watching and you're wilding to yourselves. Okay. But you can go ahead and wild to yourself. And as long as you're wilding even to yourself, I'm going to keep on digressing. Welcome back to the end game, where today I'm going to give my reaction to the recent P2P nodcast, where Tim talks about shacking up and being poor versus getting married and being wealthy. All right, so it should be interesting. I'll try to hang on as long as I possibly can. Okay, it's like a 10-minute nodcast. It's a 10-minute nodcast, which means, of course, there's like a 1 minute worth of intro. There's 3 minutes worth of nonsense and foolishness in between. And then, of course, there's a couple of minutes of rambling to wrap things up. And I know what you guys are saying. You're saying, hey, Captain, you're always on Tim's coach. I'm sorry, you're always on Tim's case for his lack of mathematical skill. You're always on his case for fumbling the arithmetic. And here you are. You said it was 10 minutes long. Okay, Captain, we heard you. We added up the numbers, Captain. You said it was 1 minute of intro, 3 minutes of nonsense, and then a couple of minutes of rambling at the end, Coach. Captain. And Captain, that's only 6 minutes. I know it is. All right, I was just keeping you guys on your toes. All right, so it should be a real quick reaction coming from me. And so I'm going to give my reaction to that video here. All right, Tim starts out the video by talking about a study that he came across. I'm like, okay, coach, you barely come across studying your own Bible. All right, what do you mean? A study? When do you have time to come across studies, Coach? Okay, first of all, your level of literacy is highly questionable. It's highly questionable, and you would have us believe that okay, you're doing research. You're studying the ways of the world, okay? Are you talking about a study that you came across, Coach? And you're going to use this in order to try to motivate or inspire some of your ready Tim writers. A study that you came across. Did you read the study? Did you see the study? Or more reasonably, did you just hear someone else talk about the study, Coach? Okay? We know that you're big on the plagiarism / borrowing these motivational speeches from other individuals. We know, Coach. And so certainly it's more likely that you heard someone else talking about this study and you say, well, let me just pretend. Okay, that's my specialty, pretending. Okay, and I'm like, okay, Coach, stay in your lane, Coach. Okay, for you to pretend to be scholarly, Coach. All right, considering that you're working with a GED level education. Okay, and normally GED is a level, it's a good level, it's a reasonable level. It's a respectable level to start with. Okay, and then, but if you're going to be coaching folks, you of course need to augment that GED education. All right, and so for a person that's operating at a GED education level, to all of a sudden try to appear to be scholarly, okay, Coach, that's not your lane. All right, stay in your lane, Coach. Your lane is hustling manipulation. Yes. And as far as IAG, domination. All right, Coach. But tell us about the study. Tell us about the study that you came across in someone else's video. We're listening, Coach.
So I want to tell you about this study that I came across that said that it spoke about demographics and economics and social classes and things like that. But in this particular study, they talked about...
Tim clarifies that shacking up refers to if, I guess if you live with someone, maybe you have kids, you have some type of physical intimacy. And I guess he's going to tell us about the connection between that and poverty. And I'm like, okay, Coach, well, Coach, we know that you We know that you had physical intimacy before you got married, Coach. All right, we already know that, yes? You admitted to it. It's in the video. It's in the archives. It's in the irrefutable archives of IAG videos, okay? So we know, Coach, that you had physical intimacy. You had sexual relations, whatever you want to call it, Coach. And certainly when you were behind bars for those 6 to 7 years, Coach, your sexual or your, what do you call it, intimacy? Your physical intimacy, we know that it continued, Coach. We know it continued. All right. And we're guessing that your intimacy with Megan did not start until sometime near the end of your term or shortly after you got out of prison or shortly after you got married, Coach. Whichever story you want us to you want us to believe, Coach. Whatever story you want to try to convince us of, Coach. But of course, there's about 6 years, 6.5 years in the middle, Coach, where you certainly had physical intimacy. All right, Coach. And so with that in mind, and certainly, certainly with you being wed to your prison boo, whether formally or informally for those 6-7 years, Coach, certainly your time in prison would qualify as shacking up. It would certainly qualify, Coach. There's the intimacy and there's the living together, whether it be with your cellmate or with another one of your prison mates. Okay, Coach? And so I guess we're going to find out based upon the statistics that would lead toward you living in poverty, Coach. And I'm like, okay, well, that might explain a whole lot. That might explain why when we look around the IAG farm, we see trash scattered about. Okay? We see debris and junk piled. It's piled upon junk is piled upon trash, is piled upon debris, okay? All right, and so you have the utter appearance of poverty, okay? Even though you claim to have this 6-figure YouTube business, you have the trappings of a person in poverty, Coach, okay? You have the trappings of a broke person, yes? We already know that you're broken, but you also have the trappings of a broke person, all right? When we look at that single wide, that raggedy old outdated single wide, we see poverty. I'm sorry, Coach. That's what we see, all right? When we see you walking around or running around in these crusty old T-shirts, yesterday's T-shirt, we see poverty, all right, Coach? When we see these boys wearing all these donated clothing, when we see you guys wearing donated items from some of your viewers and some donated items that I guess you guys have still left over from the Oasis from when you guys were back in Jackson, when you were pilfering through your own donation boxes. I'm sorry, the ministry donation boxes. Okay, and so all we see is poverty, Coach. So it makes sense, Coach, because you were shacking up when you were in prison, Coach. And so I guess that would lead you down a long road of poverty. But you like to tell us otherwise. You like to tell us about being well off and about your wealth and about you living in a palace, Coach. We just don't see it, Coach. We don't see it. I don't care how many tractors or zero wides. I'm sorry, tractors or zero turns or side by sides. I don't care how many of them you stack up, Coach. We look around, we see poverty and waste. Don't forget about the waste. But tell us more, Coach. Tell us more.
The percentage of you experiencing wealth in your lifetime versus poverty in your lifetime, depending upon this one thing. And it's funny because I don't know if they realize it or not, but this is like a biblical principle. But they were using like just the study, like the analytics, like the demographics to like prove the point. But it's like God has already told us about this already. But in this study, they said that you are twice as likely to experience poverty if you live a shacking up. And if you don't know what shacking up is, like most of you all probably know, but shacking up is when you live with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, have kids and have physical intimacy before you get married. So that's what shacking up is considered to be. Most of you all probably already knew what that is. But
I guess Tim goofs around for a couple of minutes. I guess he calls it goofing off. And then he said, well, let me get back to talking to you guys about this study. All right, Coach. Listen, Coach. They used to say that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, Coach. All right. You're supposed to be a model for those boys, okay? A model of a person that's learned, a person that's supposedly educated, a person that's knowledgeable, a person with wisdom, okay? Okay, but you're making up vocabulary and you're fumbling it. You're bumbling it, yes? You're destroying it. All right. There's no study. There's no such thing as a study. Okay. All right. Now you goof around when you talk about, well, Resurrection Ranch is still all about, but okay, that's not proper English. All right. It's still. Okay. And so we do understand that you know the proper English. You just choose to use this foolishness, this broken English. Okay, coach. But how can we take you seriously? Okay, you're talking about some type of scholarly study. You're talking about some experimentation. You're talking about data. Yes. And so how can we take you seriously when you offer it? You offer it in an illiterate fashion. When you're talking about this study, coach. All right, we're trying to keep a straight face on this, coach. We're trying to listen. You're heavy 10 followers. They're trying to take notes. They're trying to take notes. Okay? And you're throwing the broken English at them? Come on, coach.
To make sure, like I said, I know I'm kind of getting old in my older years, so I don't know, some of you young bucks, some of you younger folks, know what that is. But anyway, let me quit talking crazy and get back to the point. So the point is that in this study, they said that if you shack up, you're twice as likely in your lifetime to experience poverty. In comparison to if you don't shack up, and if before you live.
All right, coach. Once again, I would urge you to stay in your lane. Okay. Correlation does not imply causation. Yes. And so you talk about, well, if folks, rather than them shacking up, if they get married before they have kids, or before they live together, what have you, then they're more likely to avert poverty. And okay, coach. And so there are factors. Of course, you would not understand this because you, of course, you have no experience with academia. You wouldn't understand this, but certainly if you have kids early, that does have effect on your income potential. Okay, and for obvious reasons, because if you have kids, somebody has to watch the kids, somebody has to babysit the kids. Okay, it's hard to go to school, go to college, go to trade school when you have kids. Okay. When you're trying to provide for kids, you have to do it, generally speaking, by any means necessary. Okay, except for robbing folk. Except for robbing folk. There's no excuse for that, coach. And you didn't have any kids, or supposedly he didn't have any kids. But okay, so now there's plenty of variables in that study. Okay. Of course, now you could look past all the variables that factor into it. Look past the kids and the expense associated with having kids, the expense associated with having adequate housing. Look past all that and look at the fact that, okay, well, those people just are not married. And it's because they're not married that they're headed on the road toward a financial struggle. Okay, but coach, even though when you stack the variables up, you may get a certain result, coach. You generally have to look a little bit closer. Okay. Learned scholars know you have to look a little bit closer, coach. All right. Now, in your case, considering that you're well versed in the skill of hustle, then you understand how to manipulate the results. You understand how to manipulate the inputs, coach. We already know that, coach. All right. And I guess you're going to make some biblical reference in order to support that particular study. That was not a religious study, though, coach. It's not a religious study. Okay, and if you actually got your hands on the study, you would understand how they were treating the variables, how they were treating the inputs, okay, and how they interpreted the outputs, coach. Okay, so don't just gloss over it because you heard it from within somebody else's speech, or you heard it within somebody else's YouTube video, coach. Don't just gloss over it and try to adopt it for your own personal manipulation, for your own personal message, okay, to your foolish Tim Faithful. But okay, coach, tell them more. Tell them more, coach. Tell them more.
With your boyfriend or live with your girlfriend before you have kids, before you have physical intimacy with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and before you do those things, you get married, and then you start your life the proper way. It says you're twice as likely to experience wealth, and not experience poverty.
Tim talks about the physical principle of withholding yourself. And he talks about how it's in the Bible, it's biblical. And he talks about how some people think that, well, God just wants people to not enjoy themselves. Like, okay, who thinks that? He's like, oh, some people think that God just wants us to miss out on certain things. Okay, who are the folks that think that? Okay, maybe some very young kids. Okay, some youthful lads that might think that. Okay, but other than that, who really thinks that? And you're talking, well, with this study kind of supports that. And I'm like, oh, hey, coach, you can, especially as a pastor, you should understand this, coach. You can go biblical, or you can go analytical, or you can go scientific. You can go biblical or scientific, coach. They don't blend together. Okay, next thing you know, what are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about the Big Bang Theory, coach? What are you going to talk about next? Okay, the biblical and the scientific, those are two different avenues, coach. Certainly you would not understand that. They probably did not go over that when you were cramming or working your way through, when you were working your way through your GED program. All right. I won't say that you cheated your way through it. I won't imply that, coach. But certainly we don't mix the scientific with the biblical, coach. All right. But tell us more, coach. Tell us more.
Amazing how that physical principle, how it's so well laid out in the Bible already. Like the Bible tries to warn us, it tries to prepare us. A lot of times we may think that God is just, telling us to do something because he wants us to miss out on something, or he's telling us to do it because he just wants it done that way and that's just it, you know what I'm saying, because he's God. No, God knows better than us. Like God wants us to have the best experience in life that we possibly can. And this study really goes into like a mindset, because someone who is starting a family, someone who is trying to like
Tim talks about how based upon this study, okay, of course, he's the last person that should be interpreting any study for anyone. I mean, it's bad enough that he's interpreting the Bible for Megan, who knows more about the Bible than he does. Okay. She's stronger with her scripture. Yes. She's got that scriptural muscle. Her muscle is stronger. Okay. Biblically, she's stronger than Tim. Okay. And so he's not one to consult anyone or to educate anyone with regard to the Bible, let alone this educational, let alone this scientific study. Okay. But he's talking about based on this study, you're more likely, if you have kids, you're more likely to need some type of government assistance. Okay. And he's saying, well, if you have kids, you're more likely to need some type of food stamps or some type of social service or what have you. And like, okay, coach, that's logical. I mean, although you don't have a clue as far as what logic means, but that's logical. Okay. Mothers have to take care of their kids. Okay. They have to feed, they have to house their kids one way or the other. Okay. And although intimacy can lead to childbirth, nowadays it does not have to necessarily lead to childbirth. Okay. All right. We're not going to discuss whether people believe in birth control or whether people believe in abortion or they don't believe in abortion. We're not going to get into that discussion. I'll leave that for my coach. I'm sure at some point he'll recognize that it's a hot topic. At some point he'll bring it up. All right. And he'll coach you guys on that. All right. But okay, it's logical. All right. But now it's not the intimacy that leads people to having food stamps or leads people to having some other type of government assistance. Oh, by the way, there are plenty of people that have food stamps that wind up being able to live a prosperous life. Actually, even to experience wealth. There's plenty of those folks. Okay, coach. But you try to say that, okay, well, the intimacy is going to lead to you being poor. And I'm like, okay, coach. All right. All right. Well, as far as that goes, coach, I can't take any more. That's enough. That's enough, coach. All right. You're fully outside of your lane. All right. It's enough for you to try to motivate folks with your goofy P2Ps. It's enough for you to try to motivate them. It's enough for you to try to inspire them. All right. It's enough for you to try to preach to them and for you to even try to minister, okay, to folks. That's enough. Okay. But when you try to appear to be scholarly, and to give some type of scientific evidence or scientific support or some statistical support for this particular point, coach, I can't take anymore. I can't take no more, coach.
Feel something, for a long term instead of someone that just has a boyfriend or girlfriend and they just having kids and having physical intimacy and just kind of living by the seat of their pants. You know what I'm saying? It's like having no goals, no mission, no purpose. They say that you're twice as likely to be on food stamps and to be on Medicaid, not Medicaid, but to be on government assistance. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know what all the things are called nowadays. But
that's it. So that's it for my reaction to this recent P2P nodcast. where Tim talks about how shacking up can lead to poverty and how being married can lead to wealth. I can't take anymore. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. You can share as well. I want to thank my subscribers for showing me that ultimate YouTube love. For those viewers that have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing. Make sure that you chop it up in the comments. Burner, Tim, new heavies, old heavies, get up in there. But those viewers that have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing so that we can continue to shine that light. Until next time.